I've watched some of the people that host. Jimmy Kimmel was horrible. Some of these people, if I can't beat out Jimmy Kimmel in terms of talent, then I don't think I should be president.
Of course, the truth is Donald Trump is a talent. He's a very talented person. I mean, so much talent, the only way you can contain it is to lock him up.
Fire him. Not a suggestion. Not a complaint filed through proper channels. Not a whispered request in a private meeting. A public demand posted for millions to read by the President of the United States aimed directly at a late-night comedian. Because that comedian made a joke he didn't like. Donald Trump has tried to end careers before. Journalists, politicians, cabinet members who dared to disagree with him in private. But there is something different, something almost reckless, about trying to end a man whose entire profession is performing under pressure. Which country are you watching this from right now? Drop it in the comments, because this particular backfire echoed in places neither man expected. The post went up late at night. The hour Trump's social media becomes its most unfiltered. He tagged ABC directly. He tagged the show. He called Kimmel a man with no talent and very poor television ratings. He called him a disgrace. He wrote, word for word, on public record, get the bum off the air. Then, because one post was never enough, he followed up. He questioned why the network kept Kimmel employed. He questioned why sponsors tolerated it. He framed Kimmel's continued existence on television as an act of disloyalty, not to a political party, but to America itself. This is narrative analysis grounded in documented tweets, public ratings data, and widely reported network statements, built as a story because some patterns only reveal their full absurdity when you follow them from the demand to the consequence that nobody demanded.
Keep saying we have bad ratings, and you should listen to him, because if anyone knows about bad ratings, it's that guy.
That is the lowest it's been in his second term.
It is at a low of the second term.
The lowest of his second term.
La aprobación del presidente Donald Trump se desploma a los niveles más bajos.
Más lagos, what does that mean, Guillermo?
His rating is very low.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, bajo, low.
Within hours, the pressure campaign was operational. Trump's base responded the way his base always responds to a direct order. Complaints flooded ABC's phone lines. Boycott threats hit social media. Advertisers received messages warning them that supporting Kimmel's show was supporting the enemy. The machinery of outrage assembled, aimed, and fired at a man who tells jokes for a living. And for 24 hours, Kimmel said nothing. No tweets, no statements, no defensive interviews, no emergency appearances on other shows explaining his side. Just silence. Complete. Deliberate, uncomfortable silence. Some people assumed he was afraid. Some assumed negotiations were happening behind the scenes. Some assumed, maybe, this time, the pressure had worked, that the president had finally found the volume level that makes a comedian go quiet. But anyone who had watched Kimmel work for any length of time understood what that silence actually was. It wasn't fear. It was timing, because Jimmy Kimmel, above almost everything else he does well, understands that the longer you wait to respond to someone who is screaming, the louder your response sounds when it finally arrives. The next night, Kimmel walked onto his stage, and before he opened his mouth, the audience was already on its feet. Standing ovation. Not the polite, obligatory applause of a regular taping. The raw, loud, almost defiant ovation of an audience that had been waiting 24 hours to deliver a verdict. Kimmel stood there. He let it wash over him. He didn't rush it. He didn't wave it down. He let the applause run long enough that the sound itself became the first response to Trump's demand. Then he spoke. He pulled out a printed copy of Trump's post. He held it up, the way you hold up a participation trophy that someone sent you by accident, and he read it, every word, slowly. The insults, the demands, the tags, the exclamation points. He performed it not with anger, but with the calm precision of a man reading a restaurant review that accidentally proves the restaurant is excellent. The audience howled, but Kimmel raised his hand, because the punchline wasn't the tweet. He said, since the president posted that, something interesting happened. He paused. He said, our ratings went up. Another pause. Longer this time, he said, not a little. He said it was the highest rated show they'd had in months.
The Angry Orange posted, why does ABC Fake News keep Jimmy Kimmel, a man with no talent and very poor television ratings, on the air? Why do the TV syndicates put up with it? Also, totally biased coverage. Get the bum off the air.
More viewers than any episode in recent memory. Every single advertiser called to reaffirm their support. And the network Trump tagged directly, the network he pressured publicly, issued a statement of full, unconditional backing. Kimmel looked into the camera. and said, "You tried to get me fired, and instead, I got a raise." If you are watching this and you want to see more moments where pressure meets composure and composure wins, subscribe and hit that like button, because the patterns this channel documents are the ones that keep repeating and keep getting funnier. The audience didn't just laugh. They released something. Weeks of tension, months of watching powerful people try to silence the people who hold them accountable. The laughter sounded less like comedy and more like proof that the strategy of intimidation had a shelf life. But Kimmel, being Kimmel, had one more beat. He looked at the camera directly, warmly, almost sincerely, and he thanked Trump. Not sarcastically, not with venom. With what sounded like genuine appreciation, he said, "Nothing builds an audience like a villain who demands your destruction." He said every tweet, every insult, every late-night post calling for his termination was the best advertising his show had ever received, free of charge, delivered by the most famous man in the country, directly to millions of people, most of whom immediately tuned in just to see what Trump was so afraid of. He called Trump his best promoter, and the clip, that single moment, became the most watched late-night segment of the month. Media outlets covered it as a masterclass, not in comedy, but in the architecture of composure. And that is what happens every single time when a man who controls through intimidation meets a man who performs under it for a living. Subscribe to the Narrative Brief and turn on notifications. The patterns are everywhere. We make sure you see them before they disappear.